Welcome to Obsessive Compulsive Gamer Podcast. Today's subject, Metal Gear.
Thanks for that introduction, Dractactics.
Commencing Virtuous Podcast.
Thanks, Drac.
Now.
Okay, that was really good, Drac. Thanks so much.
Do you believe love can bloom on a podcast?
Are you seriously
I
asking?
never felt truly alive until I was staring a
Not
Zoom
even
meeting
listening.
in the face.
We'll be back at the end of the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer Podcast. I am your host today, Frank, aka War Was Begun, whatever you want to call me. Today we are doing the Metal Gear series. I would say Metal Gear Solid, but it does encompass more games than just the Solid series. So I'm very excited about this podcast because we have some new guests. Well, a new guest. And I'm going to actually have him introduce himself first.
Hey, I am Dractactics. Good friend of Mushi and the crew here. And just along for the ride, big Metal Gear, Solid, plus Solid, multiple. Yeah, Metal Gear and Solid series fan. Acid too, I don't know. Throw them all in there in a big pile. But yeah, big fan of them, so I'm happy to be along for this.
Awesome. We're very glad to have you. Also returning, we do have Mr. James.
Yep. I'm James, also known as Ghost 66. I was gonna do unlimited ammo.
Oh, gotcha. With the bandana.
With the bandana on, there you go. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Metal Gear. On some of the games, there's some that I don't particularly like, and we'll talk about that a little later.
Oh, yeah. Also returning, we have Mike B.
Hey, what's going on? Happy to be here again to talk about Metal Gear Solid. I wouldn't say extreme hardcore fan, but I've been there through a lot of Metal Gear Solid history and played through them. So I just enjoy it enough that I'm here with you guys to talk about it.
Very, very cool. And last but definitely not least, and probably the biggest Metal Gear fan I know, actually is the biggest Metal Gear fan I know, Mr. Gino. It's a podcast, Gino, so you actually have to say something.
I'm a big fan. I'm a really big fan.
He's a big metal fan, so make sure you put that in on the overlay. All right, so we're starting off this podcast a little differently. So now you kind of have to earn your place on the podcast. And so what I have is actually 3 trivia questions that have been prepared by our producer. So do you gentlemen all have your writing pads, paper, and utensil ready? Are we good?
I have the top of a Quaker Oats box. So I hope
whatever works.
Okay.
Gino, the answer is not gluten-free.
All right. Gina, just make sure you're facing the camera because you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, not so much the camera, but the mic. Alrighty.
Okay.
So, your first trivia question. The mini game Guy Savage or Guy Savage, however you want to pronounce it, is found in the original PS2 version of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Was actually a teaser for an upcoming game that was eventually canceled. Is this true or is this false? Go ahead and write down your answer for number 1. And you can't put just like a T that looks like an F, so you could be like, well, it was,
All right.
All right, give me a thumbs up when you're ready for question number 2.
Wait, we're going to go through all the questions first?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wrote it all huge false on one page.
Yeah,
Why would you write it that big anyway? Like, are you just
well, you can see it on camera.
I
You're
never
wasting-
reveal it.
Okay, fine. We can reveal our answers for number one first, since there's such an uproar about it. All right. On the count of three, I didn't tell you. On the count of three, please reveal your answers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. False, true. I can't see Gino. And James said true. All right, so 2 of you are correct, and 2 of you are incorrect. The answer is it is true.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
canceled upcoming game.
It certainly was.
I remember. I
We
couldn't
went back
remember
and
the
forth
name
on
of
it.
it.
Who is this guy anyway?
I remember hitting that. I like found that as a total Easter egg. I think my first time through that game.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, after that radio conversation in the prison or whatever it was, I was just like, "Holy shit! What is this dream sequence?" And I was like, "Who am I playing as? What is going on?" And then Snake comments a bit about it after having that dream or whatever, and I was like, "Holy shit! That's like some new Kojima game coming up." Something like that. I had no idea the name of it, but I figured that that's what you were talking about. So,
Yeah.
and wow, yeah, bloody, and that little teaser, playable teaser, was pretty awesome.
Nice. How long did it last? Just really quick before we go to the next question.
Oh, what, you played
Only
like 5 or 7 minutes of it or something
Yeah,
like
it's only
that?
a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Question number 2. Are you gentlemen ready? All right.
Yes.
Question number 2. Okay. Akio Otsuka, Japanese voice actor for Solid Snake and Big Boss, did not reprise his Big Boss credit for Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Who took his place?
You have to repeat that. What? Not the whole thing, but
Who
okay.
took-
Go ahead and
who-
repeat the whole thing.
The Japanese
You don't
voice
need to-
actor?
Not the guy's name.
We're talking about Japanese voice actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like I think I got it.
Okay. Akio Otsuka, Japanese voice actor for Solid Snake and Big Boss, did not reprise his Big Boss credit for Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Who took his place?
It was not Kiefer Sutherland.
Well, we're talking about the Japanese voice actors, not the drunken voice actors. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. It looks like Gino's flipping me off.
It still does.
All right. If you know his name, cool. If you don't, that's okay. All right, you got 10 seconds. All right. Go ahead and show your answers.
I was like, I show up, I guess. I need a Sharpie.
Okay, Gino just scratched out his answer, so he has none. James has Yoshi Kabuki. Mike has Guy. And Drac has Kojima's. What does that say?
Kojima's grandpappy.
Grandpappy. So, okay, so all of you got it wrong. It is somebody related actually to what's his name? Akio Otsuka. It was actually his father, Chikao Otsuka. And the kind of history behind that is they were actually estranged. So Kojima, brought his father on to help reconcile that relationship. So a little bit of extra trivia for you guys there.
That doesn't sound very strange.
All right. You guys ready for
Amen.
question 3?
Metal Gear bringing families together.
Yep. All right, question number 3. This is an open-ended response, so answer it however you'd like. Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Solid's creator, the Metal Gear series creator, is a pervert. Open-ended response.
Yes.
You're supposed to write it down. It's an open-ended response.
I'm just gonna say yes.
Care to elaborate why on the paper at least? Why?
Probably because he's Japanese, dude.
There's a lot of proof. Just saying.
Give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready. All right, we're all good? All right, let's see your answers, please. Okay, we have yes, we have totally, but with an asterisk, and Gino didn't answer because it's just what he's doing now. All right, so it's actually a trick question. He's both a pervert and not a pervert for multiple reasons.
Care to explain this one, Frank?
Did I win? It's totally, but with asterisks.
Well, he's a pervert because, I mean, there's plenty of like funny Easter eggs and pictures and stuff like that of scantily clad women, primarily women. You don't really see a whole lot of men. However, it can be argued that it's artistic depending on the context, especially since it's in a video game. So there you go.
Well, I mean, I would have to say that during Peace Walker, there is a part that kind of made me not want to play the game. And it had to do with Paz and Snake undressing her or visually undressing her.
Mm.
And keep in mind that this is like a 12-year-old girl. So it got a little creepy there.
Fair enough.
But with the older games, dude, that's the only reason. You think I was hiding in the lockers to hide from the guards? No, I was looking at the female poster in there.
Oh, that's all fine because they're obviously of age.
Like every
Alrighty.
game has a pretty clear moment of just like creepiness with like Meryl in the first one checking out her butt. Yeah, all the sexy photos and stuff like that. Trying to think of some other ones, but it's like and then Quiet from 5 as well. Her
Yeah.
whole deal. But
Well,
like, go ahead.
Yeah, let's not forget the vagina bomb in what was it?
And zeros.
In Zeros, yeah.
Yeah. But like at the same time, it's like that's why I put it with an asterisk. It's like the Metal Gear series also contains like some of the strongest female characters like in all of video gaming, I would argue, for like Meryl and Big Boss and or the boss rather, not Big Boss, but the boss. And yeah, so it's like I don't know, it's a weird juxtaposition, and I think that kind of goes into the creator's personality a bit, I bet. But we
Yeah.
can talk about that more.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for partaking in the trivia. If you did well, give yourself a pat on the back. If you didn't do well, give yourself a punch in the nuts. Alrighty. So this series, Metal Gear, actually is 33, about to be 34 years old. It was started in 1987 with the first Metal Gear on the MSX home computer, which was originally available in Japan. It did eventually transition to the Metal Gear Solid series, and that's pretty much been like the main title for it. But of course, it's got its main canon games. It's got its side spin-off games that are not considered canon, or there's all that debate. We'll get into that a little bit later. But as far as the main canon goes, as far as what I'm seeing, we have Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake on the MSX. Then we do, of course, have Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater / Subsistence, Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, and Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. There were, of course, remakes like Integral and, the Twin Snakes, and I think we actually have an upcoming Metal Gear Solid remake rumored right now. But then there was also the Acid series, which was on the PSP. You had Portable Ops, and then of course you had a bunch of bundles, collections, and everything like that.
Snake Eater 3D.
Snake Eater 3D, yes. So, to start this off, I'm going to be asking a question. This is, of course, going to be to all of you, but I'm actually going to start with Mr. Drac. And the question is, sir, what games in the series have you played?
For ones that I've played, I've played them all, but I honestly haven't beaten a couple of them. I just was yanked out my collection over here before we did this, and I was staring at them. Yeah, so I've weirdly enough, I started with Metal Gear Solid 2 as an introduction to the series around the same time as like the Metal Gear Solid Game Boy Color one. But I had played around. Right. Yeah, I guess that was the first one I beat. But I played around with the first Metal Gear Solid at one of my friend's house that had a PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation for a while. So yeah, so I've beaten Solid 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I have not beaten 5, and I need to. It's something about open world games. Have a hard time sticking with them to the end, but I really want to because I know it's a big part of Big Boss's development. So I need to finish that game at some point. But I've tried a couple times. Metal Gear beyond the Solid series, yeah, Metal Gear 1. I played through the entirety of that on an MSX emulator. And then Metal Gear 2, the Solid Snake or whatever, I've started that a couple times here and there, and I need to like buckle down and beat that at some point too for the Subsistence collection or whatever for Metal Gear Solid 3, since that was like the first officially translated one that came over to the States.
Yeah, what was it? It was included on the HD collection. Was it 3 or was it 2 that you could access the games?
Yeah, I think it was 3 Subsistence.
It should have been 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it should have been 3.
Okay.
And then so I need to beat that one too. But I played it, started a couple times. VR missions. I played a whole bunch of VR missions.
How many VR missions are there? There's like 250 or something crazy.
Oh, what does it say here?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous, like 200.
Over 300 new training missions. At least that's what it says on the back.
Yeah.
VR missions is fun. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Acid 1 and 2 I really liked as well, even though I know that they're side series. And same with the Game Boy Color one. I know it has the Metal Gear Solid title on it in the US or whatever, but it's actually like a Gaiden series. Ghost Babel is the actual subtitle.
Yeah, Ghost Babel, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did you ever play the NES ones? Which, like Metal Gear 1 is just called Metal Gear, and it's kind of like a hacked version, or not hacked version, but like hackneyed version of the original Metal Gear, and then Snake's Revenge.
Yeah, so I had the NES one for a long time. I was just looking for it. I couldn't find it in my collection over here. I think I sold it off once I figured out in my high school days that it had been like censored and cut down, and it doesn't even have a Metal Gear fight in it by the end of it. And I was like, whatever, I'm just playing the MSX version.
There you go.
That's why I played on emulator. But yes, I have the fabled, the doomed Snake's Revenge. Which is, I mean, horrendous, but it's kind of fun on its own right if you like separate it from the rest of the series. Snake's Revenge for NES.
Yeah.
I mean, just US release, right, on that one? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yep,
That one was only because everywhere else got the proper Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So yeah, I played the game. I know Ground Zeroes, I guess, counts in there too. Played through all of Ground Zeroes, but yeah, I haven't finished actual 5 proper yet. Oh, and Portable Ops, played a lot of that. Didn't beat it. Same with Peace Walker. I shame myself for not playing Peace Walker. I couldn't finish it on the PSP by the time I was trying to decide if I wanted to sell my PSP at some point or not. But then I was like, then it came out on the HD collection or wherever, the big old HD collection, and it's on there, and I'm like, oh, well, just buckle down and beat that someday. But I haven't sat down to do it, but I have played some of it, and I know that's important to Big Boss's story. So another one I need to actually beat.
Yeah, because if for Big Boss's story, if I'm not, well, we can get into the canon and all that in a little bit. Alrighty, well, thank you, Drek. Appreciate it. Sounds like you've got a really good appetite for the games. I'm gonna go to Gino. Gino, what games have you played?
I don't want to say all of them because I know I haven't played like the pachinko machine, and I haven't.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
I have
think
played that.
Certainly all of the canon stuff. Certainly a lot of the side series, even like the Acid, which is I'll agree with Drac. They're cool. It's an interesting take. That's for sure. But I haven't played there's like mobile phone games I haven't played. But everything that counts I've played. So,
Okay, but even including the Nintendo games, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those versions, as much as they're cut down and they're not great, they still have a special place in my heart. So I still enjoy them. But I mean, when you play the originals, there's really no going back to those. I mean, they're mostly just as a display piece after that,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. How about you, James? What did you play out of the series?
So I've played pretty much most of the main canon stuff. I did not like Acid one bit, so I think I tried it and was like, "Fuck this! I'm not playing it." So those are the kind of the ones I kind of avoided. I have played some of the iPhone app games too. I remember I had when 4 came out, they came with a like an iPhone app game for it. It was just a cover-based shooter, but with Metal Gear Solid 4 on there. I think my first introduction of it was on the Super Nintendo for the first Metal Gear.
What game was on Super Nintendo?
Not Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, sorry.
Gotcha.
Regular Nintendo, not Super Nintendo. And then the MSX stuff, I played on emulator. And I think they re-released some of that stuff on some of the collections, right? Am I correct on that? Yeah.
Yeah, the HD collection that we were just talking about with Drac, that it does have it accessible. And I believe it's the same if you got the Legacy collection, which has all the PS1, PS2 stuff. The Legacy collection, what does that include, Gino? I know it includes
that has
Solid as a download. I know Solid is a download. And then of course 2 and 3, I think, are on a disc. I know it has 4, and I think it does have Peace Walker.
Yeah.
Do you remember what else it has, Gino, for the Legacy collection?
I think you covered it.
Yeah, that's about all that's on there. I thoroughly enjoyed Portable Ops when it came out on PSP. I agree with Drac on those are a little rough to play, especially on PSP, because the controls aren't very intuitive. Those were a little rough, I have to say. But Peace Walker, again, like Drac said, it was part of Big Boss's story, so that's kind of an important one. And I feel like Portable Ops 2 kind of is like a segue into Big Boss's story. So that one I think is something that people should play as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wait, Portable Ops or Peace Walker?
Well, Portable Ops.
I thought Portable Ops was non-canon.
It's technically non-canon, but I think it's a good segue into his story.
Okay, so just even though it's not officially recognized as part of the timeline, it's good to at least play.
Yeah, and it has all the character development that most of the Metal Gear games are known for. So I think it's a good game to play.
Gotcha.
You get to see a very young Roy Campbell in that game. And then I mean, I've played I think pretty much everything else. Metal Gear Rising. With Metal Gear Rising, I would say that I at first didn't like the concept of it, and I refused to play it for a long time. Right? I was like, "What is this shit? This is not Metal Gear. This has nothing to do with Metal Gear. Why does it even exist?" And I refused to play it.
Metal May Cry.
Yep. But so I think it was like several years later, I actually played it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is good!" I can't believe I refused to play it. Now, I still agree it's not really a Metal Gear game, but it was fun to play.
Well, it's not a Metal Gear gameplay game, like, but it is still part of the canon.
Yeah, I guess technically, but
Yeah,
my mistake. I still enjoyed it.
To Raiden's quest.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thanks, James. All right, and Mike B.
Me, just mostly like the mainline series ones. So my first one I ever played was, of course, I guess people that might be around my age is going to be Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1.
Uh-huh.
And of course, it was just one of the games that is the main reason why it's like one of the first games I got on the PlayStation. It's like, yeah, this is why the PlayStation is the best, because look at what it can do and all this kind of stuff, you know.
Mhm.
And this is not knowing there, like I didn't know there was the NES one, or I never knew that the MSX existed. I had no idea about that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So of course it was like the first one's great. So Metal Gear Solid, I played Metal Gear Solid 2. So then 3 came out and I didn't have a PS2 because I played part 2 on the original Xbox.
Mhm.
So I played that one over and over again. I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is the one I played the most, like repeatedly. Like once I went through the run through, I just played again and played again. And then I didn't have a PS2 growing up. So when Snake Eater came out, I just never had a chance to play it or anything like that. So my first time to actually get it was when I got the Legacy Collection on the PS3. So I went back and finally played that and really enjoyed that one. So it also had the NES and the I don't know if it's the MSX version. It's not, right? Not in the Legacy. I have it right here.
In the Legacy, I believe it is the MXX version.
Okay,
they don't have the NES ones.
Yeah, so I popped them in and I was playing the old NES ones, and I mean,
You mean the old MSX ones or the old NES ones?
yeah, I was going through all the games on here because I wanted to do 3, and then I was going back.
Okay,
So I was like, I'm playing old ones, and I was like, this is fucking terrible, dude. I was like, and I'm pretty sure for when they came out, they were amazing. But during my age range of how I got introduced to Metal Gear Solid, I was like, this game is fucking awful. Like, I think it's this Nintendo one where the guy's like, I'm feeling sleepy or whatever.
Yeah, I feel asleep.
Yeah, I feel asleep, and I just got into that game for like a minute, and I was like, an actual minute. I'm not being an asshole. 60 seconds. I was like, this game, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah.
And then also with the PlayStation, I also started I got a 360 instead of a PlayStation 3, so I was behind on playing 4. So it took me a long time till I eventually got a hold of a PS3. And even when I got a PS3, I even waited longer. I don't know what took me so long. My cousin was telling me, like, yeah, dude, you got to play 4. It's amazing. So I finally did play 4, and I really did enjoy it. That one's really cool. I'm a little bit on James's side with Rising. I probably just wasn't a fan of how the gameplay was. I'm okay with it being an action hack and slash. It's just their control scheme for hack and slash seemed a little bit different than usual. And I know they were mixing it up, but I do need to go back and play that and just go through it just to get more of that Raiden story. Because I do enjoy the character. I really do like him. And what else is there? I did through 5, and that one, since it was open world, I felt like I was just coasting through it and not really paying attention as much as I should.
With the story and everything?
Yeah, because I like them, like, because they have like the main missions. Of course, you pay attention to those, but they have so many side missions to the point where it goes to more detail if you really want to dive into it. But I kind of like,
I feel
whatever.
it's the exact opposite. It's like really repetitive.
Well, yeah, that too, I guess, or maybe that's why I started toning or zoning it out. But that one, I did Ground Zeroes. I didn't 100% complete Ground Zeroes because I didn't know when it ended, because it was like a tech demo, right, or something like that, basically.
I mean, honestly, it was comparable to like a $30 demo.
Yeah. So
They charged for full price.
yeah, I'm just not sure if I completed the game. I thought I did. I don't know what, like, because you have to keep playing over and over and over again. So I didn't know what the final mission was. So yeah, I played Ground Zeroes. I played some of the Peace Walkers on the Legacy Collection. I didn't enjoy the gameplay mechanics as much, but so I never really finished through those ones, or Acid, or the Portal ones. Kind of didn't really grasp my attention as much. And yeah, I believe that's all the games that I've been through.
Oh, very nice. I have the least experience in this series, which is one of the reasons that I'm hosting. I did play and beat through the first Metal Gear Solid, actually because of Gino's help. Without Gino, I wouldn't have finished it. Just some of the things I would not have really figured out. And I mean, I played it. I mean, Gino, when did we play it, or when did you play through it with me?
I think we did it all in, I think, 6 weeks. It was like we did one, then the next one. We did the first one together, and then we did 2 as a group. 3, I think we did the movie instead.
Yeah, we did the movie instead. 2, I only played like the intro. I think I played up to where like Raiden, is landing on the big shell, and like I didn't really get very far in that game, because I'm not really a stealth guy, like, and the sneaking around and stuff I really kind of don't like, which is why I've never gotten into like Assassin's Creed or the Thief series, or what else was it? Dishonored. I don't know. I just don't like sneaking around. It's like I'd rather be running around, either hacking and slashing or shooting or whatever. I think the most
they shooting, rooting, and tooting. I thought that's what you were gonna say. Sorry.
No, I was not. I think, let's see, the MSX I did play because we did that one like as a group, and so I played like one mission. I actually have never seen Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Let's see what else. Of course, 5.
That's the one we did.
Oh, is it the one we did? Oh, okay,
That's
then
the
I
one
haven't seen Metal Gear.
Right.
The original Metal Gear.
Yeah. All right, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And then Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes and 5, I've only observed. I've never played, even though I have mostly all these games because of and partially due to Gino's help. He's actually helped me acquire some of the collector's editions because it's still a fun series to collect for. But yeah. The story is really, really awesome. So kind of segueing into our next question, and I'm actually going to start with who I just ended with, which is Mike B. Question number 2 for you, sir, is Metal Gear is known for its outlandish characters and bizarre monikers. So which is your favorite character and character name and why? And then Lee's favorite character and character name and why?
Okay, Sniper Wolf, because boobies back then. I was like, whoa, boo. No, just kidding. No, of course, mine is Solid Snake because it gravitated towards it. Funny story with that too is when he appears in I like the code name Pliskin that he has, or Pliskin Snake, for Metal Gear Solid 2, and I play it and I was like, oh, that's awesome, that's cool. And then dude, I forget, I'm very young, so.
No, you're not. You're like 4 years younger than we are.
Well, when the game came out, but when I go back and I think Escape from New York's on TV, and it's like, I'm Snake Plissken, and it's like it barely snaps in my head. I'm like, oh. So like, I was like, oh, I get it now, I get it. Like, so stuff like that is cool. I don't have a character. I could maybe think of one I dislike. I'm gonna go with Vamp, just because he annoyed me. Like, I don't know, or I just didn't dig into his lore as much. So I kind of just like, why is he just acting like a vampire? Like, oh, and shit. Like, he just like stands like a vampire, or like he's Dracula or something. And I'm like, that's very outlandish, and it seemed out of place. And I know lots of things are out of place, but he was like the one character that's like, bro, get the fuck out of here. Like, And then after you kill him, he comes back again. It's like, fuck, this guy's alive still. Like, I shot you in the head. Why are you back? So I would just go with, yes, Solid Snake, of course, is the shit. And then I didn't really give a shit about Vamp at all. And then maybe I'll slide in Solidus got annoying to me, but I think it's just because he was one of those bad guys that explain their whole battle plan while it's going on kind of thing. So
Yeah, like he fit the trope of the
Yeah.
typical villain. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, but Vamp over Solidus, but yeah, I just wanted to squeeze in Solidus too.
Yeah, I think the name choice there, like for me, I think the character name that I really, really love is Psycho Mantis. Like that's such a cool name. It rolls off the tongue. It's just it's Psycho Mantis.
Well, especially with what's his face, David Hayter saying it, Psycho Mantis. Like it just sounds cool.
I don't know.
Like, everything's with a question mark when he speaks.
Well, you can't get any better than Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah, Revolver Ocelot was pretty cool. I think out of the weakest names from Solid is Decoy Octopus, just because it's a little awkward to say Decoy Octopus. Like it doesn't have the same kind of flair, and also he dies like as soon as you meet him.
Well, Skullface is pretty fucking bad.
Well, I mean that's in 5.
That's kind of like Vamp, though. It's like, what are you, a vampire? So I'm gonna call you Vamp.
Yeah,
It's like,
what are you?
Skull
You have a
face.
skull for a face. It's your skull face.
right?
It's a terrible villain too.
That's why he's called He-Man, right? Because he's and he's a man. I don't know.
5 takes place in the 80s, right? And it's like he's so much just like an 80s cartoon villain name, appearance.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think the name I hate the most though out of the entire series is Fat Man. And I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a nod to like Kojima's love for like Cold War, everything like that, especially with what happened back in the end of World War II. But it's just a stupid name, especially like I actually like the character. Like that's a pretty cool boss battle, but just Fat Man. It's like, who's that? Oh, that's Fat Man. It's a terrible name.
Fat man that likes to blow shit up, just like the original atomic bomb.
Well, yeah, I mean that I know that's what I just explained.
I'll explain to the audience in case they don't know.
But it was just cool that he was on skates, though. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Batman on skates.
Yeah.
What was the other name of the other nuke? Was it Little Boy? Was it?
Yeah, it was Fat Man and Little Boy.
Little
Boy.
man.
Little
No,
Man.
it was Little Boy.
Something like that.
Little Boy.
There's no character named like that in the Metal Gear series.
Well, he, I'm surprised nobody was named Enola Gay. That would have been great. Oh man. Alrighty. So, let's see. Third question. That went.
What are your Gino's favorite and least favorite?
Oh yeah. What about you, Drac?
Yeah, Drac. Why don't you go?
Oh yeah, so my favorite character has got to be Revolver Ocelot. Ocelot is just so damn extra about everything in his life that he does. It is so much with dramatic flair and like, oh, he's just so into guns and spinning guns and talking about guns and love to reload during a battle and all like just all that. He's like, and it is so glorious to see how big of a part that he has in 3 as well, Snake Eater.
Mm-hmm.
When he's a young kid and just like learning like what he thinks is cool.
Yeah.
And then Naked Snake comes along and is just like, no, you need these revolvers or whatever. Like he's like
spinning, right?
Yeah, he like introduces him to that. And then he's like learning what he thinks is cool even as a young kid, and then he just like keeps up that just like flair for the dramatic like the rest of his life about everything he does, and that's why I love him so much. And he's always been a weird character to me too, because he started off as like just this goofy like cowboy wannabe like first boss basically of Metal Gear Solid 1, and then by the end of 4 he's like the main villain, the main boss, and he's been orchestrating all this stuff from behind the scenes like the whole time, and it's just like, what you mean this like crazy kooky cowboy guy with this goofy mustache, like or like he was just could have been such a like throwaway
Because that's the end of Solid Snake's brother or whatever.
Liquid.
It's Liquid's arm. Yeah,
That was an epic boss battle though for 4 at the end.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know, one of the highlight moments. But Yeah, that's Ocelot.
Yeah, like what you were saying is the first boss battle with him on Metal Gear Solid, the first one. Doesn't he speak for like 10 minutes about the revolver in his hand while he's spinning it?
Like as he's in first Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, doesn't he talk like for a whole 5 or 10 minutes or so or something like that?
He's like, just like
You know.
going on a love affair, talking about the revolver like the whole time you're fighting him, like talking about like the specifics of the caliber and like how to reload it and all this like single action, double action, like variations of the gun. Yeah, he's just like gun porn spilling out of him like on during the battle.
It's funny too, because like one of the memes in the gun community, like on Reddit, where he talks about in 3, where he talks about Big Boss tells him about the engraving on the gun. He's like, this gun is beautiful and the engraving gives you no tactical advantage. So anytime anybody posts a gun with any kind of engraving, that quote is always in the comment section. The engraving gives no tactical advantage. So remember that when you're buying a gun.
They should engrave that on the gun. This serves no
Tactical advantage.
Like designed in with like Damascus steel, like that quote, like on the gun. That would be great. Least favorite character. God, I don't know. Yeah, probably Decoy Octopus. Like his big twist and reveal is that you already met him and he's already dead and he didn't do much. Like what a joke character. Like the whole time and you like look in the manual for Metal Gear Solid 1 and you're like, oh my god, oh Foxhound. When am I gonna have the Decoy Octopus battle? And then like the big twist about him is that he's DARPA chief and he's already dead and you're just like, what the fuck? Like a joke. So yeah, I'll say Decoy Octopus, least favorite character.
Yeah. How about you, Gino?
As far as like favorite character, it's tough. I mean, you can default to like Solid Snake. That's cool. But other than that, it's really difficult. Pick one. I guess the easiest one would be like Gray Fox, because he's probably the most tragic next to the boss.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. God, I don't even know if I could pick one. I guess I'll go with I'm gonna go with Frank Yeager. That's what I'm gonna go with. But I disagree with all of you. I think Decoy Octopus is the coolest boss name ever made. And what's cool about that too is that there's this story that I forget who did the translation. Jeremy Blaustein, I think it was. He did, when he was doing the translation, Kojima's telling him, his name is Decoy Octopus, and Blaustein was telling him, no, that's too literal. It just doesn't work. He was just insistent. So that's why we have Decoy Octopus, but not, that someone was there trying to stop that. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I would say that, and then maybe probably one of the most you kind of grow to love Solid Snake very instantly because he is who he is in the series, but I think Big Boss is actually the more interesting character. And his story is probably really the more bigger piece of Metal Gear rather than Solid Snake. So I'll go with Frank Yeager, but I'll also kind of second place with Big Boss.
Very,
Big
very
Boss
cool.
story is like the backbone to everything. So yeah,
that's very true. Alrighty, thank you, gentlemen. All right,
and we're talking about naked Big Boss.
Oh no, we're not getting into that right now. All right.
Bad Mike.
So, question number 3. I'm going to direct this to James because he is our resident history expert. The third question is: Hideo Kojima uses real-world events to tie into the series. So, how well do they tie in? And are there any issues with the historical references with how they're implemented?
He references a lot of historical events, But the way they play out in this series is, obviously very fictional and kind of overblown quite a bit. If you actually look at the whole series as a whole, in the backstory for everything, it actually takes place during or the very beginning of the story takes place during World War One, right?
Mhm.
You all know that?
Well, that's when the boss is like trained, right?
No,
Okay.
that's
Oh, I mean, with the Patriots.
the Patriots. There you go.
Yeah,
The
okay.
Patriots and the Philosopher's Legacy is what kind of started all that, and that was during World War One. So, they're playing pretty loose with a lot of this stuff. They do reference like World War One, World War Two, the Cold War, that kind of stuff. Obviously, no nuclear weapons were detonated in Russia during the Cold War because that would have been pretty bad for everybody. So they do reference a lot of historical events that are going on in the time periods that the games take place, but they play very loose with the history. As far as I know, there weren't any women soldiers that stormed the beaches of Normandy, or even gave birth on the beaches of Normandy. So, so take that what you will with the historical accuracy on that kind of stuff. But I do appreciate I do appreciate them kind of inserting the story into history and giving it context, and it kind of brings the world to life.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see, because you said it starts with World War One. Do they really reference like World War Two? I mean, the Cold War is very heavily influenced for, a lot of Big Boss's story or Naked Snake, whatever you want to call him. And then by the time we get to the Solid series, it's already post Cold War. There's this. I mean, you're fighting a mercenary group, so like with the historical stuff, it really takes place from the early 1900s, to roughly the 80s, right? So,
well, and beyond, you're looking past that too, especially with Metal Gear, 2, which takes place in 2004, I believe.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay, but I mean, at that point, it's not history anymore.
No, by the time, it's not really history.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying as far as actual history goes.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's just kind of a backdrop. The history is just kind of a backdrop for the entire story. Giving it context. As far as World War II is concerned, they talk about in 3. They talk about the Cobra unit, which is the boss's unit. They're one of the ones that kind of spearheaded the push into Normandy.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those characters, those bosses that you fight in that game, they were World War II veterans. They stormed the beaches of Normandy. But like I said, just kind of a backdrop for these characters. Give them more life.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, with those backdrops, it's a lot easier to kind of just add your own stuff to it, which is what Kojima did. Because I remember when we watched the movie for 3, which was like the 5-hour cut version. No, it was like the 3.5-hour cut as opposed to the full 5+ hour one.
Mhm.
And like the intro for that game is just pure exposition. Talking about development of the nuclear bomb and all this stuff like that. And it's funny because it's like this alternate history, which I think is actually a lot of fun. It's easier to build off of, especially when you think of games like Wolfenstein, New Order, and stuff like that. But you could tell that Kojima really loves history. I mean, just the way he's trying to like plug all this stuff in, and
Yeah, how it's presented too, it makes it sound like it's really legit.
Yeah. I mean,
Even though they're changing it up, you're like, whoa, this sounds like they're really saying this is what really happened, or it sounds legit, or it seems legit.
Just in basic storytelling, you want to have each character have a history, right? Just to make them more believable. And so I think Kojima did a very good job making his characters believable by having this history for each of the characters. Going back and then using historical events as a backdrop for these characters as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you have anything you want to add to that? Gino, Drac?
Yeah. Even beyond the characters, giving them the backdrop, because most of them were involved in some sort of conflict or war. Even like beyond that, just like throwing in like real footage of things from like the Gulf War and the first Metal Gear Solid at the end, and like throwing in mentions of like Gulf War sickness and Agent Orange and stuff like that. Just having those being like still a part of this world, this universe that's been wrapped into like getting you as the viewer in the mentality of how the characters that you're watching interact with like people in power during times of conflict and stuff like that. Like even throwing those into the story to wrap you into it as well is like done really well. Like that them throwing that in there at the end of the first Metal Gear Solid, and the stuff at the end of 2 as well, when they were during those infamous long cutscenes at like at the end of every game. But
yeah, well, what famous or what historical figures were really stuck out to you as far as that were used?
Yeah, I guess what I just said, like the fact that they reference like Gulf War sickness and Agent Orange, like that, and then like comparing it to like Snake interacting with like Fox Die virus and like just unknown entities interacting from powers that be on the soldiers, the people on the ground during conflicts, of like that parallel in the first Metal Gear Solid was like, it's really like stuck with me really hard to be like, holy shit, like they're wrapping this in, it's establishing like a precedent of like, this has happened before, history, about this player, or viewer, whatever, about this, so now like it's happening again, like you have a frame of reference for like interacting with the story yourself as a player, which that really like made an impact on me playing those the first time. I was just like, oh my god, so this is happening again kind of thing. Like, I don't know, it's those are ones that really stuck out for me.
Yeah, and it's funny, with all the stuff that we found out that the government was doing, from way back then. I mean, yeah, even like the Gulf War sickness, even up to then, it's like, holy crap, the use of chemical weapons and everything like that. Mustard gas, Agent Orange, some nasty stuff.
It's like
just those cutscenes are pretty crazy too. Like you were saying, Jack. Like what do you call it? They were explaining about with the Berlin Wall and everything like that, and those cutscenes go on for like 10 or 11 minutes. And I'm like, dude, am I watching the History Channel right now? While I'm sitting here playing Metal Gear Solid. Right.
Well, since you're not going to be actually learning history, you're going to get it some way, shape, or form. At least you're getting it from a video game. Most people in school, most students, social studies and history are their least favorite subjects. I guess, they don't really appreciate, the importance, the significance of learning history. And it's funny because history is very cyclical, the circumstances themselves, like the details change, but the actual, like the cause or, the root is usually, and the desired outcome, those don't change, it's just the means that they're going about it is really all that changes.
Yeah. And that can be tied into a big thing about the themes of the game. Like, I was trying to remember before we started this, what all the like main themes or whatever that Kojima tried to like pull into the games. It was like the Solid was gene, right? It was like passing down like things through your genes and what you inherit and what you decide to do with it during your life as an individual. And then like 2 was meme, right? Like the like actual interpretation of a meme, not like, internet memes now, but where it's like data and like information and thoughts like being passed down the same way, same way, but not genetically. Like legacy. And I couldn't remember like what was the one for 3? Was it just like survive or something? It was just like
I think it was Scene.
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, because of like camouflage and stuff. But deeper than that with like the historical scene at the time, since it was like a period piece basically. I forget where I was going with that. It was you were saying about cyclical history things. It's like, yeah, just legacy and passing on information, passing on genes, passing on your story, and passing on your influence to like the world is like such an integral part to the themes of the games that like history has to be wrapped into it. Like if for the story that Kojima's like trying to tell, with that cyclical nature of like passing down lessons from the past, lessons of like cyclical historical events and everything like that. So I don't know. It's I thought that the series did that really well, even beyond the just like literal,
just
story of the convoluted timeline and all that.
Yeah, well, and I think that a testament to that too would be like at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 when you find out that the Patriots are gone, they're dead, but their influence and their it still exists very much so, and so that kind of also wraps up into it.
Well, not only that, but also the Kojima kind of predicting how information in the digital age is being distributed,
and monitored,
and in a way, the bad guys in that game wanting to. It's like, look, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And we need to control the misinformation because it gets mixed up with the real information, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that false information is clouding way too much of our influences, and that it needs to be controlled in some way. Now, whether you agree with that or not, or whether you think that's censorship or not, I mean, that's going to be up to you. But that's kind of what we're kind of dealing with right now, and the problems that we're having in our day and age. There's just so much information out there. It's hard to decide what is actual information and what is just completely made up bullshit.
Well, I mean, I don't even think so much that it's hard to interpret. It's the fact that the critical thinking has been challenged because now so many people who have these alternative facts and ideas are given a platform that they wouldn't normally have. Like the fact that the flat Earth Society exists, it's like, I mean, like a 3-year-old can see the curvature of the Earth. If you're looking, if you just get somebody and you say, okay, we're on the beach, I want you to look at that rock in the distance, and you just keep walking back and it seems to be going down. You know why? That's because the curvature of the Earth. That's a simple what's it called? Critical thinking thing. But I mean, that, and not to get too political, but you guys know kind of what I'm alluding to. It's like there's
disinformation.
Yes, active disinformation, and it's
and
not really.
Yeah, and that's addressed in the game, right? And that's
exactly.
It's a little bit ahead of its time because when did Metal Gear Solid 2 come out? Was it back
2001?
2001, right? So it's a little bit ahead of its time. Yeah, somewhere around there. Well, I think it was released around 2002, 2001.
Yeah, it was like early, I think January. It was early 2002, right, Gino?
Yeah, because they had to change it because of 9/11.
9/11. The tragic events of 7/11. Yeah.
November 13th.
So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
November 14th, 2001.
So yeah, his ideas were ahead of his time a little bit in that regard.
I wouldn't even necessarily say that they were ahead of their time. I think he was just very aware because all this information isn't really new. Like people have been talking about this stuff since. I mean, especially like think about when the internet really got started. Like when was it first available? It was like 91 or 92, something like that. And in the late 90s, there were already people talking about how the government is monitoring us, phone calls, internet usage, and everything like that. So it's not so much, he was just very aware of it, and he kind of saw the writing on the wall. I mean, everybody kind of had the idea of it, anybody who was of age, kind of over 20 years old, you always hear that thing, hey, the government's spying on you. And, it's, well, yeah, they're spying on us, but you don't really think about it too much in depth. And then, of course, when Edward Snowden was like, hey, yeah, they're really spying on you and they're getting all your information, then, the reality is something we're presented with. And it's like, well, this is not just a passing thought. This is actively influencing our lives.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like Kojima is. People always say that he predicted so many events with his games, but like he just kind of saw. It was just that he knows his history and knows how cyclical, like it was you were saying, how things keep coming back. So if you can learn from the past, then you'll know what will be attempted to happen again in the future, and that's kind of, very present in the games. How much that comes up.
Yep, exactly. And I really enjoyed that. Just want to say that was a very fun discussion. So let's move on to our next question, which this is the hot topic of this podcast. And it's going to be directed to you, Gino. It's going to be directed to you. So think about it as I'm asking you. The question is, the official canon is a bit of a mess due to conflicting events and retconning. So, what is your version of events based on what you've seen, what you played, and what you've read?
So I was kind of thinking about this when you guys were talking about the history. And also, I mean, it's great that he has all of these historical nods and kind of timelining things in that way. But it's also really kind of, in my way, just to serve as narrative. So you start with 3, Big Boss, who is really the central character of the entire thing. He goes through these horrific things in 3. He kills his mentor, his lover, his whatever. He kills all these people, or however you played. But my interpretation is that he needs that pivot moment, where with the Second World War, the First World War, when all this stuff starts, he needs that timeline to then go all the way into like the 80s for 5, which, by the way, I love 5 so much. It's probably one of the greatest video gaming experiences I've ever had. If it's not number 1, it's like number 2.
It's a great game.
And so, because he needs that time to completely just disable this individual, disable Big Boss. And there's, everyone has their version of what happens in 5. He needs to have all this time to kind of just totally destroy him. By the 80s, he goes into his coma. And I'm not saying, and I don't want to ruin this for you, Drax, so you may want to like cover your ears or something.
Wait, hold on, really quick. Did you finish? You didn't finish 5, Drac, but do you know the story or no? Like what happens at the
Parts
end
of it, but I don't know the actual end. No.
Okay.
No, we don't have to speak about it then.
Oh,
I can pull off my ears.
Yeah, walk out real quick. Yeah. Okay.
Give me a thumbs up on your back.
Okay, so a lot of people have the idea that, okay, it's not Big Boss, it's Medic. It's not Medic, at least in my view of it, because he's taken this time to beat him up. So you have this completely messed up guy. He's in a coma. He comes out of a coma. He dissociates. It's the entire game is this guy kind of trying to completely distance himself from what he's done, what he's created. So the story of 5 is and this is another thing too, is that Kojima's been trying to create this incredibly melancholy world within Metal Gear Solid 5. He's been working towards it, and he had a really good beat on it in part 1. He kind of loses some of that melancholy in 2, some in 3. 4 is kind of it gets some of that back, but 5 is like it's him at his most focused, I think. Because 5 is just so heartbreaking. And so I think it's like Kojima at his finest in his world building, in the way you feel in that world. And with this hero that's completely just been robbed of everything. So yeah, that would be my thing. Is that history? Yes, it's there. But it's really there to serve his narrative more than anything else. And that's what I'll say.
Okay, so can you actually answer the question now? Which is, what is your official canon? Like, what actually happened then? I mean, everything. Serious. Just give me what your interpretation is of the events. Like,
okay,
because we were more talking about themes and stuff, which is cool. It's just the question is asking about the actual events, the actual timeline.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm talking about. So for canon, I would say, Big Boss does essentially go a spiral into madness, right? And then Snake does the things that he does outright in 2 and in 3 and in 4, whatever. So yeah, the only thing that I would make with for canon is my interpretation of 5, which is not shared by everybody else. So
okay,
that's it.
Well, okay, so why is that not? Why is that Big Boss to you, even though they say it's not?
Because, well, for one, Kojima says interpret it how you want. And that's how I see it. I just see him just completely being picked apart by everything that he's doing, and finally at the end he says, "You know what? Fuck this. It's not me. It's not me at all. This is somebody totally not me. Like split personalities." Anyway, move on. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Okay. Well, okay. It's just, I understand the interpret it as you will, but how do you explain? Okay, because Venom Snake is identified as the one who's killed in Solid Snake, because Big Boss is killed, quote unquote. Then how do you explain Big Boss coming back
At the end of
in 4?
Big Boss was never killed.
He was killed. He literally is killed at the end of Solid Snake.
No.
See, this is the interpretation I think Gino's going for, and then I think he goes back on that. So I think what Gino was trying to say, at least, but I might be wrong. I think he might be taking it literal also. But
he's dead.
I think he's saying like Venom Snake ends up being the representation of Big Boss for so long that he is Big Boss in a way as like he's the one that. But see, and then Gino keeps saying no, he actually is Big Boss. I was like, wait, no, I don't agree with him actually being Big Boss though.
We'll move on now. You can put your headphones back on.
Okay. This is one of the reasons why I dislike 5 the most, right? Is because one, it's not finished, right? It is completely not finished, and I think the whole "will interpret it how you want" is kind of like a scapegoat for it not being finished.
I don't think it's like that though. It's pretty straightforward and direct.
I don't think it's not.
It's straightforward and direct in a way that he had to put it, because the game itself is not finished, and there's people that have worked on the game that have said that, sorry, this game is just not finished.
Yeah.
Right.
He was not like a genius or anything, but when at the first 10 minutes of the game, I'm like, oh, so I'm not Big Boss? Like, that's all I was thinking the whole time when the first 10 minutes happened. And then at the end of the game, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not Big Boss. It's like...
So, it's just that I just think it's a whole scapegoat for that kind of thing. Well, interpret it however you want. Well, because it's not finished. Right. I think he had a clear plan. And if he was able to finish it before he was pulled off the project, then we would be able to have a coherent story. But that's one of the reasons why I don't like it, and that it is this whole ambiguous thing with it is what kind of upsets me about 5 and why I
Well,
don't
it's
like
not
it.
ambiguous.
But I agree with Cheeto on this though. I enjoyed the game. I think it's great. I like the story. All of it's cool. I just disagree with him on that end point. But other than that, the game is amazing. At least through my eyes, what I think,
Yeah.
or what I thought was cool.
All right, we're gonna stop. We're gonna bring Drac back in. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Okay,
not talk
all
about
right.
this anymore.
Come on, Jack.
I don't know if you can see me.
He's like, I'm not even gonna look at these
Yeah.
guys anymore.
Yeah, sorry. That is a very hotly debated topic in our group. What we were just talking about, which does have to do with Metal Gear Solid 5 spoilers. So I apologize for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
sorry.
agree. I know Mushi was keeping me up to date with Shed.
And
Okay.
this isn't even the first time.
Yeah.
We've had this argument multiple times, and it just keeps happening.
Yeah.
We'll
All
have
right.
it again. We'll have
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can
Yeah.
talk about this game series all freaking day, but yeah, I need to beat 5 so I can actually contribute to this part of it because I know 5 is super important.
Yeah. I mean, so essentially it starts with the Patriots, and then of course, I mean, to me, it's like the boss comes in, she trains Naked Snake, then of course, like she betrays the country, and then Big Boss does his stuff, and then Enfant Terrible. Yeah. They get brought on, and because let's see, who was it? It's Solid, Solidus, and Liquid, right? They're the triplets,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. And they all do their own things. I want to know how Solidus became president. That's something I want to know. It's like
Should have been holding this up all the time.
there you go.
And that's like when I first played the Metal Gear Solid for the first time on a PlayStation, I was like completely lost as fuck. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. It was like acronyms. I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. The only thing I got was like, oh, bro, liquid. That's a liquid. Solid Snake. That's a solid. I don't understand anything else that's happening. And just
We all agree that the story is very convoluted and
yeah. But it's cool because I also learned like when I started playing the second one, I could connect things together, certain things, but I still, as far as deep that the lore went, I was like, I'm still kind of not getting this. Which means I kind of felt I could have started with Metal Gear Solid 2, and it would have been like the same introductory level of trying to learn as much about the lore, because they talk about mostly everything over and over again with each game that comes up. It kind of brings back the history of the last and the previous, and even like the exposition for it. So
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
If someone says, which one do I play first? I was like, if you want to do it in chronological order, I could tell you. But whatever's going to get you into like the lore in the series, you could probably start wherever you feel like, you know?
Although, I mean, but I'd say gameplay wise, if somebody is used to modern gaming, it's going to be hard to start with Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, just because those are very, they are dated, but they have that
rough to play.
Yeah, they've got that complexity, even for being kind of an 8-bit game. That I would probably recommend them starting with like Metal Gear Solid, the first one. You know what I mean? Just because, I mean, or even starting with Twin Snakes, since it's like
I've never
updated.
played Twin Snakes. I want to play it so bad.
Well, it does have the Metal Gear Solid 2 mechanics in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as far as like the cinematics, like if you don't like them, skip them. I mean, you would need them if you do want the story. But I think as far as a gameplay wise, it's easier than the original Metal Gear Solid,
Yeah. Well, the top-down angles, and you needed the map, or heavily rely on the map to see who sees you or not. Basically, yeah.
First person in that game just kind of opens it up and makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I remember my cousin was telling me like, well, once you play 3, you're gonna love it, dude, because it's way more realistic. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of bullshit though, because they can see me from way across the other side of the hill or the mountain, but I can't see shit. It's like it was kind of frustrating, but I mean the game was cool. The introducing of new mechanics and stuff like that, or the camouflage was really cool. He's like, well, then camouflage is like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll use that. But little stuff like that, or little changes that they throw in to improve the game, actually worked well for it.
Yeah. Well, we can kind of get into that because with the last question.
Yeah.
as far as the gameplay and everything like that goes. But the official canon, like I said, James pretty much nailed it. It's so convoluted that it kind of is open to interpretation, because what you want to ignore, what you want to take in. I mean, even Kojima's, he's had to go back. He's like Akira Toriyama, where it's like, oh yeah, I did that. I gotta fix that, and that's why the Dragon Ball canon's all messed up and everything.
Oh yeah, and the one thing, if anyone could give me like a quick answer, if you just want to move ahead real quick, is what's the whole Colonel being like a simulator Raiden thing in 2? I never understood that. Like I never understood that whole thing.
So
like
that has
the whole mission is fake or set up for him to like.
Well, again, that goes with
test?
it goes with the interpretation of that particular game. So some people interpret it, and the way that it's kind of the way the story goes, they interpret it as Raiden is still in VR missions.
Yeah, I've heard
This
that.
is all VR shit, right?
But is that legit?
I think
You could determine it however you want.
Yeah.
But like, how do you if it's all VR? Like, I don't know, the Pliskin and him, like, or like you would say he's not real then for that whole event.
I think face value, without going into deeper theories of it all being VR, I think that that Campbell is a simulation of the Patriots, right? Or coming out of Metal Gear Arsenal at that time, right? It's set up, created from Metal Gear Arsenal, I think is how I remember.
Yeah, if you interpret it as face value, so Colonel is actually a simulation that is kind of pulling the strings on Raiden through the Arsenal gear.
Yeah, Arsenal Gear. That's it. Yeah.
So it's either that or he's in a VR mission. It's like however you want to take that.
And you could take that, and I think that was kind of left as interpretation.
Because from what I've heard from the VR mission is they're training him so he could like assist Snake later or something like that, right?
We don't really know what they're training him for.
Yeah, I don't think it's directly for Snake, and the only reason I think that's because, like, he and Otacon, they're doing philanthropy, and then he goes missing and everything like that. I mean, for 2, I don't know enough about the story. Even watching it, I mean, I've only watched it play through once, so like I haven't really been able to examine the game. I'd say with 3. That one, there's a stronger case for VR because, certain things you do, like if you kill Ocelot, it's like, there's a time paradox and it's game over. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then there's other things in there, like breadcrumbs as far as it being a VR mission, the awareness, some of the technology and stuff like that. But, that's more fan theory. That I think those events probably did happen. And if anything, what was it? I think one of the theories said that it was Solid Snake playing through the events as Big Boss, and so those events still did happen. But I don't know.
It is Assassin's Creed style.
Yeah. Alrighty. So this next question I'm directing at you, Mr. Drac. It's going to be, so Metal Gear Solid is coming back without Kojima at the helm, because on the horizon there's the rumored Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, and then there's Metal Gear Solid 6. So what direction do you want to see the series go, since its creator will have no involvement?
Well, I mean, I guess we got to get Metal Gear Survive 2 first, right? So we got to get Notch on board. So it's like Minecraft, and get Minecraft graphics going on for Survive 2. I think cash in on that. That's where I'd like to see it go. No, I'm joking. We all forgot about the greatest game, Metal Gear Survive.
Well, we have a friend who actually really loves it, and I mean, he actually won. He got tickets to E3 because of his dedication to that game. So,
well, that paid off then, I guess.
Yeah, it did, in more ways than one. Because he loves
Right.
the game. He doesn't think it's a bad game at all.
Wow. Yeah. No, but really.
We all had the same reaction.
Sorry, what was that?
We all had the same reaction that you did.
Yeah, zero interest in it, and definitely because zero interest in it because of like I mean, Konami's shittiness of a company, and then also them cutting ties with Kojima and just like ripping his creation away from him and trying to make something new past that, like, was just bad taste in the mouth right from the start. Like, no interest in Survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, for actual, like, what direction you want to see, because I know like people are thinking that like it would just be another direct remake from like Bluepoint, like they did the Demon Souls remake and Shadow of the Colossus and stuff like that for the Metal Gear Solid remake, which would be fine, but I don't think it's needed because you already have Twin Snakes as a it's already been done, already remade. Like, why remake it again?
Yeah.
So like, I've thought about this. It'd be cool to see another, like, it's so focused on Big Boss and then Solid Snake's story, like through like the whole series, basically. It'd be cool to see like some other facets of the world and the universe in like explored, kind of like do a game with like I don't know, following like Foxhound in the time between Solid Snake leaving it and then up to Metal Gear Solid 1, like seeing how they like devolve into what they end up being by the time Metal Gear Solid 1 sets up. Like explore that, or like, you know, Dead Cell even, like before 2, like just playing as those characters and having them being the main protagonists when they're like set up as like heroes doing good, like in their you know, time, I guess, before they descend into villainy, or, you know, quote unquote villainy, but villains in your game from your protagonist as Snake before then. Or, I mean, during the actual games you're playing. But I don't know, I think that would be cool to kind of explore that, some of those other facets. Or I've always dreamed about, we were kind of just talking about that too, like which one is a good entry point into the series, and like, yeah, Metal Gear Solid is the first one, I think, is the best one to get an entry point into the series with now, after playing them all, basically. But like, it's kind of bizarre that the game even got a US release. It's kind of a marvel. I mean, like, it makes sense because of how geared it's trying to be like a US action movie, like a Hollywood action movie, what Kojima does. So like, it makes sense that he wanted to do an international release, and it became a success. It worked out for him, for, you know, Konami and crew. But like, the fact that Metal Gear Solid like got a US release is like crazy to me, with so much of the story that is needed to kind of set you up for that game. Knowing, like, you know, Frank Yeager, his whole character, and like the twist with him being the ninja first, and then being like, oh, my old buddy, you know, Frank Yeager, Gray Fox, like, and then Big Boss's remains. Like, when you're playing Metal Gear Solid the first time, if you had played it in 1998, like right at the time, you'd be like, what, who, like, are we talking about this NES game that I never played also, like, or
well, you know, and that's funny too, because a lot of people, that's how they were introduced, Metal Gear Solid, and you know, it's already got this rich lore that,
right. And you're like, I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
So that's like, me and my friends have always like conjectured, like, they need to go back and remake, if we're doing any remakes at all, which, I mean, it's kind of a testament that Kojima hasn't really gone back to remake these games. But I think if we're doing remakes, and the ones that deserve them, I think would be Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, because that would be like impressive, and do it in as new a modern, you know, system, modern engine, do it in the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine, and Metal Gear 1 and 2 like remade in that style would be awesome, to like get the twists and turns of the first Metal Gear game, and learn Frank Yeager's story, and like see it in full fidelity and everything, like in a modern system. I think that would be the real warranted remake that I would like to see.
yeah,
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one. Metal Gear 1 and 2 absolutely would benefit from a remake.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, you get, I think those people, like you said, that got into Metal Gear Solid and kind of missed out on a lot of the backstory, this kind of gives the closure on that. All right. With that being said, I personally think they should not touch it ever again. Like, it's done. It's done. The story's been told. It is what it is. It doesn't need any more, right? Because right now we're just beating a dead horse at this point.
Well, dude, if Kojima's not a part of it, I think they should just go balls to the wall stupid and like, hey, let's do Metal Gear Warriors,
Metal
bro.
Gear Survive.
Metal Gear Warriors or some mech fighting game, which is like the different types of Metal Gears or giant metal rays they have and stuff. I don't know,
Metal
man.
Gear Rex, Metal Gear Rex, Metal Gear Ray, Arsenal Gear,
Yeah,
and what were the other four?
Metal Gear D.
yeah. Do like a mech fighting game or simulating. I don't know, dude. They just shovel shit out there and don't ever focus on the main story anymore. Leave it alone if he's not a part of it.
Yeah, I
Mech
know.
Warrior. Mech Warrior. Metal Gear.
Well, I'm saying Metal Gear Warriors would be cool, I guess, in a way. I don't know. I mean, I'd pay maybe 10.
What are
20
you
bucks
talking
for that.
about? Like Dynasty Warriors? But with Metal
Yeah,
Gear?
dude, just Metal Gear.
Just slow.
Why the fuck
know,
not at this point?
Right, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so but we know, there is going to be a Metal Gear Solid 6. Like, so for that game, ideally, would you like that to be like the Frank Yeager story, and you get to see his stuff?
No.
Or
Yeah, I would enjoy
Konami.
remaking the
Bad.
story.
No. Stop it. Stop it. Bad.
they're gonna remake it. I'm just saying,
Like he's saying, yeah, it's gonna come out anyway, and
gonna
if it is,
happen.
then I guess I would be okay with that story.
Give it to some other studio and don't let it Konami do it in house.
Yeah.
yeah.
Give it to like, I don't know, what Mercury Steam, the people that did the Castlevania Lords of Shadow, like they already worked with Kojima Productions. They could maybe do an okay job at it. I don't know.
They already have the
Maybe-
Fox engine. The Fox
Maybe
engine.
if Hideo Kojima came
new
onto the
hire.
project. Yeah, and
Hideo
it's
Kojima.
it's just Kojima with this like curly mustache.
Well, that's
He
how they
just kinda
hyped
walked
everybody
in
up
on-
with Survive, right? Because it was the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine.
Yeah, the Fox engine.
Yeah, the Fox engine, and then everyone was I was looking at it too. I was like, "Oh, dude, that's cool." They're extending it out, and then yeah, I think I got into a game lobby with George, and I was like, "Yeah, this game sucks," and I left. I don't know. I didn't even start the game with him. But yeah, I think I got excited from seeing it, and then the more I looked into it, I was like, "This kind of isn't anything of Metal Gear to me, or doesn't feel like it." George will probably correct us and tell us they probably tie in maybe a lot of lore. But I mean, if Kojima's not a part of it, it's up to you if you want to accept that or not.
Well, it's already like alternate universe anyway. Is like the main character you're playing as? Is he? I don't even know who he is, but he gets sucked into a portal or something, right? And he lands in this crystal zombie, land where he's gotta buy save slots or whatever that he has to do.
I have no idea.
Minecraft.
Dude, you have to
Buy safe
hydrate.
stuff
You have
with
to
real
hydrate
money.
every 15 minutes or you die. And I was like, bro, I haven't hydrated in 2 days and I'm okay. This game doesn't make any sense.
Well, I know the character in Survive, like he's infected with something, and that's why you have to constantly eat and hydrate and stuff like that. Like he's infected with something. I don't know what.
Because you're a human. And you have to eat, drink.
Is it actually a character or is it you create the character and you're portraying through it?
That I couldn't tell you. Let's ask our resident Metal Gear Survive for Gino. Gino.
Your thoughts on Survive and Kojima's or the future of the Metal Gear Solid?
I'm fine with another team taking it on. Just a good team. I think that's really all it needs. It doesn't need Kojima because you have to remember. I love Kojima, and yeah, of course, obviously, but Kojima's got his problems. His writing is the most ham-fisted you've ever seen, which is great. It serves it well. It serves it really well, and I love it.
Do you believe love can battle?
Yeah.
Can blossom on the battlefield?
Yeah. There's things like that which I hate and love at the same time. But I think if you give it to a talented team, they can do just as well with it. So I would caution, though, you guys are saying that, the stories from like Metal Gear 1 and 2, I would caution that. I would. That's probably ideally what I'd want to see too. But I think one of the things that makes Frank Yeager so cool is that you barely see him. He's like this mysterious character. He offers very little, but there's a mystique to him. So if he becomes like the central character in a game or, something else, he has a chance of being even more interesting, but he also has a chance of just becoming this big,
Yeah, it
Not-
could turn into like a
not
Metroid Other M situation with Samus.
Oh goodness.
Oh.
Yeah.
It would be the most interesting. I would love to see those two games remade, or the first. I'm always up for them remaking part one, because part one I think is always going to be like a timeless kind of story to begin with. So the more people that get to play that, I think it's worth doing. And for the record, I think Twin Snakes is a terrible remake, just because it doesn't have the emotional weight of the original. I think if they had paid more attention to that, then maybe it would be just as good. But you've got like this techno soundtrack, and you've got these bullet dodging, ridiculous, over the top. I mean, which the first one's over the top too, but Twin Snakes gets so far away from being grounded at all that it's just like it's a farce almost,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I get the complaints lodged against Twin Snakes, but I still think it's a fun ride. If you
It's fun.
also
Yeah, it's
that
fun. I'll agree with you.
one.
Yeah, it's fun. I just
Totally agree.
It doesn't replace the first one. Yeah, definitely
No,
not.
it doesn't replace it, but it's still fun.
Actually, like through my third playthrough of the original Metal Gear Solid, it took me at least like the third playthrough to realize how he got those cigarettes there.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like, how are you smoking right now? And you use like the cigarettes to see through the lasers, and they're like, we searched you and you were not able to take anything with you. And it's like, huh.
Prison wallet.
Yeah.
See, like
I didn't get it for so long. How did I get these cigarettes?
strange square sticking out of like his sneaking suit, just like shooting a little bit in the back, like out of it in his sneaking.
These cigarettes smell like shit.
Alrighty, so we're gonna kind of wrap it up with our last question. Last question is a bit of a free for all, so whoever wants to answer first, it's up to you. We've kind of alluded to it, but we haven't directly answered this question. So our last question is, what is your favorite game in the series and why? And actually, let me start off with this. My favorite game in the series is actually Metal Gear Solid 1. And that's because that's the one I actually played through. It's there for me, there's a charm about old PS1 games. You know what I mean? Like that transition to 3D, which was very rough. You think about like PS1 and Saturn and Nintendo 64, like a lot of those games look like shit. Like they're terrible. But at the time, they were so charming, and it was like, wow, we have 3 dimensions, now we have depth, and as far as the cleverness of it, because a lot of the meta stuff, the more fourth wall breaking, that came after the original Metal Gear, but I didn't play the original Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2. So my first experience with that was Metal Gear Solid. And I'm of course talking about stuff like using this back of the CD cover to actually find the radio frequency, the Psycho Mantis fight, which our producer actually beat without plugging into the second controller port, which I have to. Oh yes, and Jack has pointed it out. They actually tell you, look at the back of the CD cover to find the frequency to call Meryl.
Dude, the first time I played it, I rented it from Blockbuster.
And of course,
of course, it just had that Blockbuster video case. And then there's like a disc in your item inventory, and I'm like, I'm selecting the disc, you piece of shit. Why isn't it giving me the code? So it took me forever even realized that was a thing. I was like, oh, okay.
Thing on the back of Twin Snakes there. It's like they had to have it there. But I was just thinking, like the Legacy Collection or whatever, that only had the digital download of 1, like from the PSN store. So like you don't have check the back of the CD case. Like
good thing it didn't come out. Good thing it didn't come out on Nintendo 64. Where's your box? Fuck, I don't know where the box is. Check the back of the box.
Yeah. So so that's my personal favorite. I mean, but honestly, like I think a lot of, well, I don't even want to say it. I'll let you guys answer this question. But whoever wants to speak up next, go ahead and just, what's your favorite game in the series and why?
Well, mine's gonna be 3.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, 3 is gonna be my favorite. It's like the first time you're actually playing as Big Boss. That was an exciting moment in this story. Get to see like him as a rookie going into some of his first missions, right? How he and I was kind of hoping maybe we get to see how he became a bad guy. And you kind of do, and you kind of see like the catalyst for that kind of thing. But he didn't go full bad guy, which was a little bit disappointing, but that's all right. Just a lot of things about that game. The some of the mechanics I really enjoyed. The ones that I enjoyed, a lot of people didn't like the camouflage mechanic, the survival mechanic where you had to perform first aid on yourself,
Eat fish.
Yeah, eating. You'd have to eat in order to maintain stamina.
You had to eat a snake.
You have to go hunting. But there's a lot of detail in that game where you could do things like poison guards with spoiled food, set out magazines, for them to read while you sneak past them. Even the boss battles were very very unique, right? Everybody's played 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm not spoiling anything.
I watched the movie, so I know.
You watched the movie? Well, like one of the things I appreciate is like the end, the boss battle there. You can either have this, intense sniper fight where you're, having to go through it could take up to an hour to do, or what you could do, here's several different ways to do it. You could either snipe him during after a cutscene when they're wheeling him back into the station, or you could just on your PlayStation move your clock forward. I don't know if it was like a couple of days and he just die, or a week. He just dies of old age. Yeah. Right.
Just to clarify for anybody who's not understanding, so James said the end, but he doesn't mean the end of the game. No. The end is actually one of the bosses, because in Metal Gear Solid 3, there's the boss and her team is the end, the pain, the sorrow, and what was the other one?
The fear.
The fury.
The fear. Yeah.
And the fury. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's referring to the character, the end, not the end of the game.
So, there's just so much in that game. And you could play around with and play it how you want to play it. And I've seen some people do some crazy shit with the AI, with the enemy AI, and the ways you can manipulate the enemy AI. So that's going to be my number one favorite right there. You can't beat that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear 3 is almost everybody's favorite, and it's also like, a very polished PS2 game. Mm-hmm. It still looks really nice even on original hardware.
Yeah, very few glitches. Everything looks really good on that hardware. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 is such a good, self-contained, if someone doesn't care about getting the rest of the lore, but they want to have a good stealth game, or a good what is Metal Gear Solid about? Just want to play one game? Hand them 3, because it's you can just start with the beginning and go to the end and be like, great, I'm done with it. You don't have to dive into bizarre fan theories and start looking at all the other games and start piecing it together, and yeah.
Yeah.
A complete story.
Yeah.
Although the Oedipus complex is a little strong in that game, it's a little disturbing, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I have to go with 2, mainly because I played that the most, and then I liked all the stuff they added to it. So all the unique things, before I know 3 happened, where you could even do more with the guards. But me and my cousin used to play this betting game. We would race the guards in Metal Gear Solid 2. You knock them out, and then you'd shoot out the radio, shoot out one leg, and shoot out one arm, and then we get the freezing spray to wake them up. But we do it with 2 guards, and we lay them together. Then we'll we'll put them at the same distance further apart, and then when we wake them up, we'd bet to see which guard who's limping will get over to the emergency comm station first. But it's crazy because we do one leg, one arm, so they're just gimping over. Or first they check their radio and they're like, "Oh, my radio's not working," and they're both gimping over there. I don't know. It was crazy. We were just some sadistic fucks. Then we would just kill him and throw him off a bridge. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and 2, you can slip on bird poop. So
Yes,
it's
I
got
remember that
going for it.
too. That was funny. Yeah.
Then if you kill the birds, your lady friend is all disgusted with you.
Oh yeah.
Rose.
Also, I grew to
Rose, yeah.
like Raiden, and then I didn't at first, and then I grew to like him. Like, this guy's a little bitch, and then I was like, after I think so many times of playing it, I'm like, realistically, in this situation, I'd be the biggest bitch in the world. So I'd be.
He was a child soldier. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? The more I played, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't, even if I was an adult, I'd be a little bitch. So
I think a lot of the hate for Raiden started because of like the intentional subversion of like Kojima and his team to like
set that character for
you're
failure.
playing Solid Snake, and then it's most of the game you're playing as Raiden, and like it's even a slap to the face when like they're like he like shows up and he's like, this is Snake, like, and you're like, what? This is not Snake. I don't know this guy.
that's exactly where the hate came from, and that's where it started. You're right.
And in
Like-
3, right, is when he shows up in the Raiden mask and he takes it off.
Yeah,
So, right?
Yeah, they just kind of put that.
Oh,
in
through
there.
that as a joke. Yeah, yeah.
The joke.
yeah.
And then but okay, so 2 is my favorite, but I'm just gonna throw it in there about the whole writing thing too. Is once it came to 4, I even like how the character grew even more, which makes me I want to go back and play Rising since I never finished it, or I only played like the first stage, just to see how they're developing that character between. Because I really have no idea what it's about on story wise or when it takes place, but I know it has to be before 4, right? Or, like Rising is before 4.
I can't remember.
No, it's gonna be after 4.
It's after 4.
Yeah.
Before.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know when it takes place, but I really liked how Raiden's character was in 4. So
Yeah, it's like they seem like to intentionally set him up to be like a badass cyber ninja now, and like they're just
Then
like,
in 3, they implied that he's like gay, and because
what?
right
the
color.
character the character. So the mask that you have is based off of another character that's in 3, which is some Soviet soldier who has like this relationship with the main bad guy Volgan. So they pretty much made him kind of gay.
Well, yeah, that was very heavy-handed in their
Mhm.
approach to that character.
That's kind of
I
fucked
was
up
also
that they made it.
frustrated.
I was gonna say
Go
kind of
ahead.
fucked up that they kind of made it look like it was a bad thing for him to be gay, but
Well, I think it was just I wouldn't say that they made him look bad. It was more the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the perspective, but I think you guys know what I mean.
yeah.
You know, back then the interpretation back
Yeah.
then. And I think that's more of I think that's where like Kojima's subtext really kind of came in, you know.
And he had to be so like secretive and closeted about it because it was the 60s. Like, yeah, I guess.
I mean,
but then I'm at the end of part 2, like Raiden's taking out all these rays, and I was like Metal Gear rays. I'm like, come on, that's bullshit. He's not that badass.
I mean, but he was already improved because
Yes, yes.
from 4 when he shows up and then it's because Rising takes place 4 years after Guns of the Patriots.
Yeah, so I would believe in Rising when he has like the suit now that would make more sense. But it kind of like him taking on what was it? How many rays, Metal Gear rays, did he take out? 5 or 4?
Well, I mean, it's implied that there's a lot of rays inside that thing. Which
No, but how many did he take out at the end? Before he fights Solidus, before that part, you have to use like a
I don't
rocket
remember
launcher.
how many you have to
And
fight.
then
I just remember that
Blitzking's
fight
tossing
going.
rockets at you.
Yeah, where I just remember that fight going on way longer than I wanted it to.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you like shoot rockets at it, but at least by like 4, he's just like slicing open Metal Gears with like his sword, and he's such a badass. Like,
Yeah.
just flying through the air, hitting like one hands on, slicing them down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a taste of that with Gray Fox in the first one, so we knew it was possible.
Yeah.
I can't tell if Gino's nodding his head or shaking his head.
Yes.
I'm nodding.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, and it's funny. It kind of reminds me. It's like people forget details like that. Like when, and this is totally segueing into something else. But like in Resident Evil 3 remake, when Marvin is having to deal with Brad Zombie, and Brad Zombie talks, everybody made a huge deal about it. It's like, oh my god, the zombie talks. But it's funny because in the very, very original PS1 Resident Evil, like you have the Keeper's Diary, and he's literally you see the devolution, you know, his deterioration mentally, and it ends with him just saying "itchy tasty." Like
He's
it's
like writing still.
yeah, exactly. So anyway,
Well, see, for the Metal Gear moment, that would be the Solid. That's probably Solid is also a great one too. Is that moment too where it's the first time in the series where it's like, whose footprints are these? And you're just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, he's gonna follow these footprints. Oh shit! And then I'm just like running around. He's just trailing, and it's like, dude, I can't believe you're doing this. This is fucking amazing. You know, I just tripped out on like each game's bringing in something new that's totally amazing, or something a new mechanic that like blows your mind that you didn't think was possible.
I love those enemies' voices in that first game.
What's that box?
What was that noise?
Footprints are these.
Oh man, yeah, it's pretty hilarious, and it's funny because I think it's incredibly smart, but it's showing like, oh, these guys are incredibly fucking dumb. This AI's they're idiots, but like it's cool that you've seen it implemented into the world that you know there's dumbass guards out there.
Yeah. What about you, Drac? What's your favorite?
Favorite game in the series? Yeah, I always go back to 2. Being I know 2 gets a lot of hate here and there from other some other people, but 2 has always had just like a very personal like I don't know, spot in my heart because of like, I mean, it was the first one that I first played all the way through. But also it's like it was kind of I played it at the time. That was like it opened my eyes to like kind of what games could do, what they could do with their stories, how they could tell stories, and what I'm trying to say, it was like not coming of age, but like it was important to me at that time in my life when I played that, like what, freshman year of high school, 8th grade, I can't, somewhere around then, where it's like I was kind of opening my mind up to like first realizing like to yeah, basically critical thinking, like we were talking earlier, just like critical thinking about what you're being told, what you should be accepting all the time, like, you know, and I mean even directly beyond that, like with regards to like patriotism and just like accepting what the powers that be above you are telling you to just accept and move on with your life. Like Snake deals with that, Raiden deals with that like on a very like you know, personal level. All the protagonists deal with that. Big Boss on Metal Gear Solid 3, like, but 2 and like Raiden's journey, like him just kind of like becoming aware of all that through his journey, and like just kind of like opening up his mind, and then beyond that, like it affecting me with like how it like wraps into the you know, viewing your own reality of how you should have your eyes open basically, and critically think and start to like, oh, this person might just be a figurehead. This person is telling me this for this end of this, you know, company, or this telling me this because of this political motivation or whatever. Like it kind of opened my eyes to that at that time. So the fact that a video game could do that to me, like I had no idea before then that games would do that beyond just being fun, kind of escapist things, like in my whole life before then of gaming. But then like to have a story and a narrative coming from a game touch me so deeply like that, and just kind of open my mind to I should be checking out these, you know, authors, and I should be reading into this philosophical stuff that they're referencing, and I should just, yeah, it kind of like opened me up politically, opened me up like just, yeah, how I view the world, and it like affected me deeply for a very long time, and I still remember back that. So like, and it kind of affected me how I want to, I mean, the whole ending of 2 also is like, it's what you leave with what is your legacy, like what you leave with, what you do with the world, what you create and how it affects people. is important, very important, even after however Solidus says it. It's like after mankind is gone, what is left of us, like, and what do you leave personally during your time as an individual on this planet? That's like a big general sweeping theme of the end of that game, and that got me really thinking at the time. And the fact the game could do that, I was like, wow.
Yeah. No, and like we had, we had talked about before, all the historical stuff, the cheesy writing, the length of the cutscenes, just the fact that there's that much dedication to the story. I think it's oof. I mean, because it was the first Metal Gear Solid on the 7th generation, on PS2, and I think that one didn't age as well as Metal Gear Solid 3, but to be fair, Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, 3-4 years later. So, but Metal Gear Solid 2, that whole subversion thing, like, there's a lot of critics who still talk about that, but so many people actually now, they really appreciate Kojima's genius and totally throwing off his fan base. And yeah, it didn't sell as well as it did because you were playing as somebody else once everybody found out, but that's still a brilliant game. It's still like really cool. And I think Metal Gear Solid 2, you're right. It's kind of underrated in the series.
Yeah. I agree.
How about you, Gino?
I have nowhere near as eloquent an answer that you gave, Drac. That was awesome to listen to, actually.
I feel like
I'm serious. That was really cool. Clearly, it's had some effect on you, and that's great to be able to express it. No, I can't pick one. It's impossible to pick one because each one of them.
It's five.
Well, each one of them has like a kind of like Drax saying it's like this moment. So this was this moment for me. I think each one of them, they're moments for me. So it's picking one moment over the other when they're all really good, and particularly good times with each one of them. So yeah, I'm not going to pick one. I mean, if we're just going to go with what most recently, it would be 5. And I think like 5, I still think about playing 5 every day, and every day I have to stop myself from playing 5 because there's other games I need to play. So I'm going to start. In fact, I'm going to start Resident Evil Remake today.
3.
And I have Metal Gear. I have Solid 5 on my hard drive. So do I need to start playing Resident Evil 3, or can I just go back to 5? I don't know yet. We'll find out. But yeah, I like them all.
So 5, yeah. Alrighty. So I think we're just about done. Do you guys have any additional thoughts or any last minute things you want to add? Comments?
5 is awful.
5 is great.
Need to beat 5.
5 is awful. 5 is great.
And if it was awful, I was super distracted by Quiet the whole time, and it totally worked.
Of course you were.
This series, I wish I had more of a desire to play them, but I do know the story pretty well, and it's simply because the story at least is interesting enough to me to either watch the movies or collect for it and then just kind of read about the lore. I actually did read the first 2 novelizations by Raymond Perry, I think it was, and I haven't finished 4, but I wasn't too happy with 4 because it was written by this group. I forgot what it was called. It was like Project Ito or something.
Project Ito, yeah.
Yeah, and that novelization, it's okay because the first 2 are, of course, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and then they skip 3 completely and go straight to 4. But I just like the first 2. They're kind of, they're hammy, they're cheesy, kind of like the series themselves. But if you don't feel like playing them, I suggest actually just reading them because I actually figured out how to do some stuff in 1 because I read the book. So that was kind of funny. But I mean, overall, thank you all so much for sharing your thoughts. Drac, I really appreciate you coming in and joining us for this podcast. Of course, Mike B, James, and Gino, thank you for returning as usual. Thank you all very much for listening. I'm not sure what the next episode is going to be or what the previous one was, depending on what came out, but, check out the episodes. And thank you all very much and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Players.
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
Hideo Kojima is one crazy son of a bitch, but his insane attention to detail and character development has reached the hearts of millions. This man has nearly without fail subverted expectations with every new Metal Gear release, yet the fanbase continues to embrace these unexpected additions to the gameplay and lore. Now that he has been released from the shackles of Konami, we might get to see him construct a whole new crazy universe to experience, and Death Stranding may only be the beginning of something completely different. Or maybe it's more of the same. Either way, it'll be fun to watch. Well, that's it for this episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks with everyone's favorite mustachioed plumber, Super Mario. Take it away, Drac.
Colonel, I keep trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick. And the clap on my ass cheeks keep alerting the guards. Ugh.
Huh.
This episode of the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer Podcast was produced by Bobby, edited by Mike B, and hosted by Frank. If you would like to know more about the music used in this episode, please check the link in the description. Thanks for watching and listening. Check out our website at OCGamer.org for more episodes and articles on gaming.